Hello and welcome to a World Series edition of Talkin Jake with myself, Jake Storielli, David Mendelson, and Bailey Freeman, a.k.a. Foolish Baseball, Foolish Bailey in some cultures. The Fall Classic is upon us, Bailey. How are you?
I'm feeling great. Unfortunately, my dreams of Brewers Royals World
I know.
Series were dashed
Yeah.
fairly early in the process. But I guess I'll just have to live with Yankees Dodgers instead.
Manfred rigs another one, just like last year's Diamondbacks run. I think the people can tell you're being a little facetious there, but how are you feeling like, okay, we live in a Yankees culture here at John Boy Media, if we're being honest. BBD has the Soto jersey giveaway on right now. There's a poster of Derek Jeter behind me. We're obviously feeling the effects of this in every way, the fan way, the business way, the content way, like all of it. Are you all there as a baseball light?
I am, and I think what I appreciate is the variety, right? I appreciated last year, like what you just alluded
Okay.
to, when it was Diamondbacks and Rangers. And look, I think when it comes to the discussion of like obviously the TV viewership is going to be higher this year than it was last year. I can say that fully confidently.
Nice.
And to some extent, and I think Manfred even spoke about it this week. I sort of sometimes lament the effect of a media market on those numbers, because to me sometimes it turns into a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Because we tell ourselves the Yankees and the Dodgers, they're in big cities, they're like classic brands. We have to give them all the primetime games. We have to promote Judge. We have to promote Ohtani. And what basically happens is it's just like this feedback loop, right? Where you ignore a team like the 2023 Diamondbacks or the 2023 Rangers all regular season, and then when it gets to the World Series and those happen to be the two teams in it, you haven't really built up. Corbin Carroll was fun, Corey Seager's fun, Dolis Garcia's fun, but you hadn't really built them up the same way you've been sort of building up this Ohtani and Judge matchup. I mean, if you've been watching the playoffs themselves, they literally have a commercial they've shown the entire time
Right.
that is just basically Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani are in the playoffs. That was it. That was the entire commercial. And so so I lament that, and Manfred has spoken to that some this week when he said, and he used a very funny word to describe it. He said, we need to nationalize baseball broadcasting. And he's right, because for me at least, like just from my observations as a baseball sicko observing regular baseball fans, the average baseball fan likes the home team, roots for the home team, doesn't really care about the rest of the league, and that's the result of um, an infrastructure that's been based around these regional sports networks for the last 20 or so years. You have access to your team's games generally, but not everyone else's, because truth be told, the average baseball fan is not going to buy an MLB TV subscription ever. That's just not going to be in their playbook. That's for the sickos like you and I. So to loop it back around to a Yankees-Dodgers World Series, it's great. It's going to get viewership. I think the Dodgers element is a lot more important than the Yankees element, because there's going to be a lot of people watching in Japan for Ohtani. We saw what that did with the World Baseball Classic viewership. The fact that it's going to be like early AM when those games are going on doesn't matter. They're going to tune in at a very high rate. So yeah, it's good. But I also think it's nice to have like a variety. It's nice to have wild card teams making underdog runs, and it's nice to have like what we have this year, which is, yeah, we had some fun with the Mets, but at the end of the day, this is basically 2-1 seeds and presumably the two best teams in the league going at it for this World Series.
It's every time I scrub through the actual checkpoints of storylines or talent or this season, like everything comes up perfect, man. And there's some small market teams that don't want to hear that, and I hope I can get enough credit, and I feel like I won't. And okay, that's a good start for me. I feel like I won't get enough credit because my Yankees did it.
Nobody gives you enough credit, Talkin Jake. That's what I'm always saying.
And another thing, no, like I love sports. Like you were saying, I loved last year's World Series. I love pretty much any World Series. I like NBA opening night tonight gets me a little jazzy. That I like to appreciate when the Rays are playing the mighty Dodgers, and what that would mean for that organization and front office that's tried to buck baseball, inside out, from shifting to the use of relievers to everything Tampa did. Like, I do enjoy that, but there's something special about this. It is missing, if we got to get in the lab with Uncle Rob and how can we make this better? We would have one or two, I think, of the Dodgers starting pitchers back. Like, we would have, we would be finishing the Clayton Kershaw story and watching him flip some curveballs up there. Or even, my guy Tyler Glasnow. As of right now, that's none of my business. I guess on the field, is there anything special or different that you look at initially? Because obviously the stars jump out. Obviously the Dodgers and their depth pieces, they almost have this unique thing in baseball that we don't see enough of that they've kept Max Muncy around, that Kike and Chris Taylor are back hanging around and doing, they have these secondary pieces that, with the way baseball is currently set up, guys, I don't know, that just doesn't happen as much anymore. So I guess as we go down the layers of this series, is there something else that jumps out to you that makes it more unique or fun?
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to see where Freeman's at. I mean, he gets basically the whole week off. I think that's going to be a big thing, and that's going to definitely factor into this series. I want to see how the Dodgers, from their perspective, at least, how just their bullpen games hold up, because that's going to be pretty crucial in terms of the series. And that's not just when it's a bullpen game by design. That's also when, chances are one of, Flaherty or Buehler is going to go out there and have kind of a dud start or a short start. And then how do you, respond to that for the rest of the game? So I think that's, from the Dodgers perspective, what I'm interested in. From the Yankees perspective, I want to see, Stanton and Judge doing Stanton and Judge things. Judge really started to heat up. It seemed like in that CS, Stanton's been hot the whole time. I don't mention Soto because I know he's going to be there. I know he's going to go out there and have a really good series. It's just kind of about the other guys, the other big stars, big home run hitters. And if there's anyone beyond that, Volpe, because Volpe was just, especially earlier in the postseason, crushing the baseball, absolutely crushing the baseball. It looked like he'd really turned a new leaf at the right moment. So I'm definitely interested in him as well. And this is obviously going to be, part of his legacy because he's got to catch Jeter for rings, so he's going to need to get one now.
Finally, you're getting it, Bailey.
Right.
Yeah, his at-bats have been so much better. And I know Jimmy this morning was getting lost in, his swing and his profile and in the zone, out of the zone and all that. You can just watch and you're like, these are completely different at-bats than he was having in the regular season. I think there was a little bit of rest and clearing his head. I think there's a little bit of focus and intensity for both the Yankees up the middle, my guy Volpe and young Gleyber Torres, that, Gleyber had a very nice second half, but they look so... The Yankees play a very laissez-faire, if you want to be an old guy from New Jersey, Aaron Boone's a Southern California guy. They play that way during the season. There's 162. The baseball gods figure themselves out. There's going to be good days and bad days. Don't try too hard. Don't try too little. And this storm will figure itself out. And the way I've seen Volpe play, and it goes back to the pat on the back he gave Michael Garcia off the field a little bit, he's had a little more intensity and a little more dog. And I know that's not everything when it comes to hitting 97-mile-per-hour baseballs and wipeout sliders out of the pen, but it looks like he's turned up a notch. That has me excited for his profile going into future seasons. And for Gleyber as well. He has salvaged what was looking like a horrid free agency with his second half and, potentially being the table setter for either the American League pennant champions or the World Series champion. This has been huge for his free agency market.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you brought that up. Especially just in the second half in general, leadoff Gleyber has been kind of a big game changer for them. And I think if he continues to show that, they're going to be, even... I consider the Yankees to be slight favorites coming into this series. I don't know how you feel about that, but I think just if you really break it down, I think you'd have to consider the Yankees at least slight favorites, given the Dodgers injuries. pitching wise, and also Freeman being, I think, a bit of a question mark as well. And just they look good right now. I mean, they. Here's the thing about the Yankees: the guys who they need to be hot are hot right now, and we'll see
Sure.
how the layover affects it. But that's the guys who they need to be hot this postseason have delivered.
Okay, interesting. And please, if you think the Yankees are the favorites, I'll let you cook on that. If Freddie was 100% healthy, and he's looked like Frederick, do you still think that? Because the only standalone difference, you're right, the Yankees big guys are a little bit hotter, but the Dodgers guys did show it. You could argue their second tier guys, Teoscar and Muncy, are a little hotter than the Yankees second tier guys. And I think their bullpen, if not have gone toe for toe with each other, the Dodgers A pen might have a little more depth to it. But again, I'm in a weird spot where I'm trying to be neutral, but I'm obviously a Yankees fan that is rooting for them. That you think just the Yankees starting pitching in theory going into this makes the difference?
It can. It's tough it's so tough to ascertain sometimes, Jake, because unfortunately that starting pitching depth, depending on how these games shake out, isn't that important in a series where you have built-in rest days. Like it's awesome in the regular season to have a better four starter than anyone else, but that's not quite as exploitable in a playoff type situation when you've got those rest days. So I don't know. I mean, I think probably the Yankees bullpen will be better on a per inning basis, and I'm basing that on the idea that the Dodgers bullpen will have to cover more innings, which I think would not surprise me at all.
Yeah, the Dodgers starting pitching is going to be highlighted. Jack Flaherty, and dude, this is where I don't write a lot of things down. My notes app is a disaster. I'd say once a quarter, I'm like, ooh, I should write something in my notes app, and it's just a hodgepodge of nothing. I'll be like, that's a funny joke. The next one will be like my favorite chess pieces. And it's a disaster. I actually need to write down all of the storylines. Because, dude, even Freddie and Rizzo, the two old dog, banged up first basemen, Freddie's still pulling his weight and heading towards the Hall of Fame and could come out next year and have an amazing year and no one would be shocked. Rizzo, it's looking like Father Time is getting involved, but he was great last series. That's a storyline that for a normal World Series, would be something. Look at these great first basemen in their second homes, tearing it up. And for this one, that is storyline. Not I was laughing at Verdugo back in LA. Nobody cares. That's literally
no
doesn't
cares.
register on this. But for the starting pitcher, Jack Flaherty. Jack Flaherty and Yamamoto, his final dance partner before signing with the Dodgers was the Yankees. He made that decision to go there. And Jack Flaherty at the trade deadline, I believe that was also a decision. We, our guy Booney, shared some info with us off the wire, that I don't know how much. It was reported on after that the Yankees were very in on Flaherty. Those would normally be two massive storylines in a series, and everyone's kind of I don't care. Get more home runs, Shohei and Judge.
Right, exactly. Yeah, there are a lot of storylines coming into this series, and I think Max Muncy just set a playoff record for most times getting on base. No one cared,
No. Spin Zone, first Jake episode. If Max Muncy looked like Jack Flaherty, would people be more into it? I don't know.
Wow.
Cliff Kingsbury gets a lot of attention. My only note. I have theories about that I'd rather not dive into. The Anthony Banda drama in this series, my God.
You say that, but there's going to be a high leverage Juan Soto plate appearance, and that's who he's going to be facing off against. It's going to be, he's going to have to be choleric, or at some point in this series.
Hey, let's dumbify this a little bit. More my strength than your strength. If you got to have one lineup right now, you'd take the Yankees?
And you kind of you
Right?
talked me out of it. You talked me out of it because when you were talking about how good Muncy and Teoscar had been, and I was like, that's right, they have been really good. Yeah, I'll still take the Yankees because of the Freeman situation. I think if the Freeman situation wasn't there, I'd take the Dodgers.
Yeah, and again, this is the good side of it. For people that are tuning into this, thank you, subscribe. The other thing is, like, not only is this New York and LA, but these are powers that match up very evenly, and it's not really like, sometimes it'll be like, look, it's going to be the pitching versus the hitting, and an unstoppable object meets an immovable, and you're just like, okay, like, what is this, Bob Costas? For me, like, this is the lineups. If we started a baseball debate club, I don't think either side would win. I think you would end up shaking hands and be like, yep, you got it. That Dodgers depth with their home run champ and Mookie and Freddie and the depth between guys we don't talk about, Muncy, Hernandez, Lux, and Smith. Edman. We haven't mentioned Tommy Edman yet.
Clean up Tommy.
Who won your CS MVP. Where the Yankees, and this is where I can't tell if I am being honest with myself, or I do think I would give my nod to the Dodgers lineup. I am a little worried that second half of the Yankees lineup is going to get a little more exposed. Anthony Volpe played really well. And hopefully he continues to do that, and that's okay. Keep it rolling. Anthony Rizzo played really well, playing with a broken hand. Like, for both of those guys to continue to hit at like a 400 clip, I feel like in this series that's not going to continue. And without those guys contributing at the bottom, I could see the Yankees having a couple of those dead innings. And in the postseason, those can come back to bite you. Again, this could be more devil's advocate than anything, as I'm, not sleeping at night, staring at the ceiling, being like, how much am I going to hate Gavin Lux in 2 weeks?
Yeah. I mean, just totally anecdotally, it just seems like the way you win in the postseason is you get the 9-hitter leading off on base, and then everything turns over. So if the bottom doesn't feed the top, pause, then there's gonna be problems.
The hell was that?
Sorry.
It's a family-friendly program. This is where a lot of our baseball children come to learn. And then, the other thing that I think you could have a bad bar conversation for hours over, like, the bullpens to me are tit for tat. I think the Dodgers have a depth argument. I think the Yankees by the end of this are going to have a depth argument, because I think, well, the Nestor updates we got from BBD before this, not as exciting. My elbow hurts, but I'll get me a ring and I'll sit out a year. That's not... That doesn't sound like Dr. James Andrews in his ear. That's not good advice. I do think Jake Cousins on this national stage is about to get some. He was pitching incredible coming into the postseason, and just got a little banged up at the wrong time. But now that he's gotten his feet under him, and it's Tim Hill's world, and we're all just living in it at this point.
Yeah, he's... First of all, StatCast released that the arm angle data, and it's just a bunch of dots, and he is just the dot that is far away from all the other dots, just like the release point as a lefty. And so that's fun. But he's fun because it's like, hey, here's a reliever who doesn't strike anyone out. Let's see if it matters or not. And so in some situations that could matter. I wouldn't necessarily love bringing him in with runners on base, which I think that we have seen the Yankees do. But I mean, can't argue with the ERA he's had both in the regular season for the Yankees and the postseason.
That's the crazy part of this, and that's where baseball can be beautiful and hideous, that this series could come down to Tim Hill and Shohei Ohtani 4 times.
Sure.
This could come down to Banda and Soto 4 times. I think both sides are a little scared of that. Banda's throwing the ball incredibly. I can't believe there's some funk there, and it's 98, and it's kind of mean. He's got like a little chest tattoo leaking out that you're like, okay, I kind of don't want to fuck with this guy. Good for Anthony Banda. I wasn't. What's my Shaq meme I like? I wasn't
familiar with his game.
I wasn't. And even with him being a former Yankee. Another bad conversation. This is how I host Bailey. Is this a little bit of like, I just looked at the DraftKings odds it's Dodgers minus 125, Yankees plus 105, which is essentially even. Dodgers slight favorite, like that those numbers, for those that don't live in the gambling world, those numbers are so close that I think if the Yankees had home field, it would be the exact same. So it's saying this is a toss-up. You said the Yankees seem like a slight favorite. I guess this is a long-winded way of saying, like, hands in the air, the baseball gods are going to shine and one of these teams are going to win? Or do you think we're going to walk away and be like, oh, like one of these teams is going to rise up and we're going to be like, no, that was the better team. Claps, congratulations.
Yeah, there's Shohei Ohtani, whether he wins this series or not, has what I call plot armor. He's going to have some sort of hero's journey throughout this series, whether he wins or loses. And so there will be drama and there will be close games and there will be excitement. So in that sense, just because he is around and he's an element of this, just for supernatural baseball gods reasons, I have to think this is going to be an epic series and it's going to have like a satisfying conclusion where we feel like whoever wins deserved it.
Okay, I like that. That makes me feel better. Because I don't know. In a way, I feel my daydreams drift to this. Like, this has to go 6 or 7, right? Like, how for one of these teams to take it in 5, it feels impossible right now, and yet, we're going to be sitting here in a week feeling different at some point. Like, a team will at least be up 2-1. That's a little Jakey analytics there. Where meanwhile, I don't know. Like, if one of these bullpens goes out and everyone gets hit, then it's going to be like, okay, well, both of these teams are going to be leaning on their bullpen. So if they've got to do this for 6 more or not even, I just don't know. It feels.
I think,
please.
And sorry to interrupt, if the Dodgers score like 10 runs a game like they did in the CS, then yeah, it could be over pretty fast. I kind of feel like if it's a blitz, like if a team is going to get blitzed, it's going to be the Dodgers blitzing the Yankees. Okay. But I feel like if it goes 6 or 7, then I would lean more towards the Yankees.
Yeah, that the Dodgers lineup and bullpen depth scares me. And I guess I'm worried. I guess my other fear is that they get Metsed. Like, that the Dodgers have this winning formula of like, hey, Blake Trinan is going to be unhittable for 2 innings. So if we have a lead, whether that's, a Yamamoto start, a Flaherty start, Buehler digs deep and finds something, or if we just have to bullpen 2 games, like, they kind of have enough bodies to do that I don't know, like, for the Mets wins were like, they openly said they punted game 2. Not punted, but pitching-wise they did. And then it's like, okay, so if we're getting the wins in other places, all right, Mets, get your 12-6. We're not going to burn Trinan, and we'll save some of the other guys. But with how explosive their offense is, I don't know. Like, that would be my fear, that it's going to be Dodgers in 6. They're essentially going to give the Yankees 2 blowouts, but they'll walk away from that game and be like, hey, our pen is good. We're going to open the next game with Shohei and Mookie. We're going to Kasparius is going to hand us a 5-2 lead, and then our old man bullpen is going to get it done.
I've thought so much about Ben Kasparius over like the last week or so. It's nice, insane,
right? It's nice.
He is. He's kind of nice.
UConn guy.
Do you want a little Baileylitics?
Please.
This is one of those things that I don't really think is real, but I will bring it up as a stat. The Dodgers this year are 12-16 after an off day, and now they have basically a whole week off going into this series. That's all I'm gonna throw out there. That's something. Or maybe it's nothing. It's probably nothing.
Yeah, the only thing that fights that Garrett Cole when he's not regular. Sometimes he gets a little shifty on the mound.
He needs a little stool softener.
But they need him. They need him to stand on his business, as the kids say in Game 1. God,
the kids do say that he needs to have aura, you know.
Yeah. I do,
and he's already been to Ohio this postseason.
Baileylitics. I'll give you a little Jake on the path to old man. Game starts the same time every night. Let's go, baseball. 8:08 on the East Coast. 5:05.
You know what? I've lamented this. I haven't lamented this on this program. When I was a kid, dude, my parents were strict on the bedtime, and I was an East Coast kid. I didn't get to watch like all the playoff baseball, like when it was, you know, during a school night or whatever. Like for a lot of my childhood, I remember actually like having to turn on a radio in my bedroom and like falling asleep to it.
Right. No.
So, but I also get it. I mean, it's Yankees Dodgers. You can't start it before 5 local for the Dodgers fans out there.
No, I was shocked that the Friday, Saturday games weren't going to be like 9:30. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. Other big sports start that time. It's the World Series and it's New York. Like, I don't know. I'm fine with it. God, I hope baseball shows out just like we all do. There are so many stars on the field, and that's been kind of the cool part of the Yankees run up until this point. Like, again, if we were putting together the script with Uncle Rob, it's like, okay, well, today, Judge and Giancarlo will go back-to-back against Class A. Yes, that's good. And then, okay, Giancarlo, he'll hit another big one, and then, Soto and extras. Yes, Yankees. I mean, we've been a little spoiled this postseason run. Like, the pitching was showing out to start. The stars, hitting-wise, were carrying the team. And yeah, I guess you could glass half full, glass half empty for the Dodgers because Shohei hasn't had like the Shohei game yet. Mookie's had one day where he went nuts, like he had his 4-hit game. And Freddie, you're right, man, just hobbling around out there. You know, they've gotten efforts from just everyone in the lineup that we will see. Are they going to put on kind of the Texas Rangers show we watched last year that, okay, it's the 3rd inning and they've scored 7. Like, if they do that, there's no stopping them. Where the Yankees, that top of the lineup can cause a lot of problems. But, you know, with the current who will protect Stanton and Judge predicament between Jazz, Wells got slid down. Like, it just feels like the Dodgers aren't going to have that. God, and you're right, limiting those Dodgers starting pitchers, like every inning that Flaherty snags, every inning that Yamamoto snags, that just makes Dave Roberts and the Dodgers' job easier. So, and God, I hope the Yankees base running is one of the grossest products I've seen on a baseball field. And if that costs them a World Series game, Bailey, people are not going to be well around here.
It's going to be all about the fundamentals.
Joe's McFly's getting old. Like, a bad error to lose a World Series game.
Poor Joe's. He's only seen like 6 Yankees World Series in his lifetime.
He would be the first to tell you it's not nearly enough. I don't know anything else on it, Bailey. We're about to get all the drama and press conferences, and like Jazz will for sure say something that the Dodgers won't like, and maybe Kevin Kiermaier does that the other way. We'll see. And anything else just on this series in general that we're about to be inundated with for 2 weeks?
Well, it's interesting because, you know, and again, I hate to fall in this trap of comparing it to last year's, but because it's Dodgers-Yankees, there hasn't really been a star born this postseason the same way that it almost, you know, like at this point, we were talking about the Gink and we were talking about Evan Carter, you know, and I don't really know if that's out there for either of these teams, but I'll tell you one player who I'm really, really excited about this postseason. And obviously, he's not on the level of obscurity. I mean, he signed a record-breaking contract, but I want to see what Yamamoto's got on the biggest stage that Major League Baseball has to offer. And yeah, I'm really stoked to see like what he brings to the table in particular.
Yeah, because at this point, he is built up to, let's see, what's the most pitches he's thrown? 60, 63, 73. So, like, in theory, Yamamoto is built up to what has become the standard postseason start, like 80 pitches.
Yes.
He, at least his first start, he won't be given the leash of, 95 pitches and here's the seventh inning. But, he has enough pitches in him to give you a quality game-changing start. And yeah, it was the Dodgers and the Yankees at the end. Like, Mets fans, I know you guys just did this as well. You guys got played. That the Yankees thought they were getting him too. Like, again, we're loosely connected to the org at this point, and we can read the tea leaves pretty good. Like, the way they were talking about Yamamoto, they thought they had him. Like, I don't know if they thought him and Shohei weren't boys, or I don't know if they thought he wanted the big city over being a little closer to home, but they thought they had him. That I'll tell you what, if he's the difference maker this postseason, God, that would probably be the thing that stings the most.
Yeah.
And I hadn't thought about that till now, Bailey, so thanks.
You're welcome.
God, that can't happen. Although the Flaherty deadline thing, too, that could sting. Excited to watch it. Bailey, you wanted to go through some of the moments of this postseason, and it was interesting. We can draft this or list this together, maybe. Maybe that could be the exercise. I'm not sure, because I started writing them down, because I said we should do a fun draft. We should either do like a fantasy draft of these two rosters, which get your out of the park out and buckle up for an hour and a half as we say, no, Trevino's the better backup. We passed on that. That I started writing down the moments of the playoffs and was kind of going through some box scores and stuff like that. I wrote down a lot of home runs. I hit up our guy Kyle from Socials, who's locked in on it. And again, there was a lot of home runs. There are some other moments, but again, I'll let you kick off, because I want to see kind of where your brain was running, and like, are you comparing this to previous years, like mentally when you're doing this, or no, it's just like, hey, this is what we've seen this year. This is what I've liked.
Yeah, it's almost like practicing like mindfulness or being thankful, like because like I was running through this and then I just remembered, oh yeah, Pete Alonso hit a massive homer in that wild card series versus the Brewers when they were like down to their last bit of life, and it was an oppo bomb, and it was a wall scraper, it was off Devin Williams, and all this great drama. And then just a couple weeks later, you've kind of forgotten about it because there's been so much more that's happened since then. Yeah, so I admittedly, home runs probably are going to dominate the list, but I'm going to try to build a list that's not based entirely off that. But if there's a 1-1 for me off the board, I've got to go with the Jonk Bonk. The Jonk Bonk against the Yankees. Brian Anderson's big Christmas call left the present under the tree. You know what it was is because there have been moments this postseason where there was an inevitability to them, where you saw the buildup and you felt it coming and you knew that this, there was an explosion ready to happen. I didn't feel that way during the Jonk Bonk. It just happened, and it wasn't just a home run. It was a majestic no doubter with the bat drop and the crash and then the call and all the everything. And it's one of those things where, I mean, here's how I'll relate it to my Braves fandom. Like, one of the most celebrated and beloved Braves moments of the last few years is Acuña's grand slam off Buehler in the 2018 NLDS. And I've been sometimes perplexed by that, because that was like, they were down 2-0 in that series. They won the game and then they lost that series 3-1, So it's like, and that's kind of the same story here with the Guardians. Like, here's a great moment sandwiched between a pretty painful series loss for them. But it's just something about it. There's something about the way those moments represent hope, even if in the long term you didn't win the World Series that year. Like just the level of excitement there. It's something that I'll remember from this postseason. I'm going to go with the John Kinsey Noel home run.
Bailey, I say, I like what you do. I like the cut of your jib. Let's link up. Let's talk ball throughout the year. And for the World Series, you say let's do moments, and then you jonk bonk me like that.
But but you shouldn't even care.
Crazy.
They won the series. You were sad for a day. You were sad for one day. Cleveland will remember this for months. You were sad for one day.
No, it's we live in a time period where swag has consumed the youths. And bat flips and oh no, it's good for the game, but there's cool bat flips. There's not cool bat flips. Don't offend me, do it with your buddies. The jonk bonk swing and reaction. I mean, that's about as good as it gets. And it's the intention of the hitter too. Like Big Christmas is a big fella. And he stepped up with one intention. Like I'm going to hit the home run or I'm not going to hit the home run. There's not a lot of middle area here. And he hit the home run and he flung the bat. And you're right, the Anderson call helps. I guess for me, the Alonso homer, because I mean that is a deciding game for a franchise of indecisiveness. Doesn't really make sense, but I just thought it would flow well if it did make sense. For Alonso, who Mets fans had been like so out on him for his clutch, memorable homers, I think there was some stat that he hadn't hit a home run that gave them a lead since April or something like that, like early April. To do it against Devin Williams, I don't know, man. I know the postseason does move past quickly, but that is a season-saving for a franchise of disappointment that, I mean, that's a signature home run in their franchise history.
Yes. Yeah. Do you know what it is for me? And you can make this argument either way. If Pete Alonso hit the ball as far as the jonk bonk and then the jonk home run was just like a wall scraper down the line, then I'm totally with you. But there's just something, and I get that, like, you can make the argument, oh, well, the Alonso home run had some tension to it because as it was in the air, you thought, oh, it's not gone, and then it went, whereas the jonk bonk, the moment he made contact with it, everyone knew what was going to happen to that baseball. So, but there's just something about the no doubter for me in that situation. But yeah, no, I totally hear it. I mean, both massive home runs. Obviously, the Alonso was more decisive in terms of the series. The jonk bonk, I mean, they had 2 outs. They were down to their last out. It's crazy to think about.
I mean, okay. So let's say I enjoy you jonk bonking me.
Sure.
I mean, could I not try to check Rays with a Kerry Carpenter off of Class A?
Oh, that's very nice. It's a very nice one.
I mean, when you bring in the characters in play here, the closer that's going to finish probably second in the AL Cy Young, division rivals. I don't know. I mean, that one, it's tough for me because I've been streaming for a lot of these games, streamer, whatever. The Kerry Carpenter one, I was not. I was getting dinner at a local place with food and fare. And I let out an audible squeak, like no reaction. Like, this isn't for the cameras. I let it, like, like what? Kerry Carpenter? They got the bad man? And I thought it signified more for their series, but as the analysts have told us, momentum isn't a real thing. But I mean, that was, again, that's where I hate to be big market Jake, but that's how we opened the program. That if that was 2 bigger market teams, the world would have exploded.
Yeah, there's just, I'm picturing this moment in my head, like I'm playing the video back in my brain. It's like a day game, night game thing
Yeah,
sometimes,
it's true. It's
it
true.
is. Um, what was fun about that one, and I'm trying to jog my memory of this Kerry Carpenter home run. What was fun is I don't think he started. I think they brought him in maybe seventh inning for like a high leverage spot, and he didn't get it done. And I was like, well, that's it. They used their Kerry Carpenter bullet, and then lo and behold, there he comes up again with the game on the line and just crushes it.
They used their Kerry Carpenter bullet. Who would have thought? Um, yeah, that was his second at bat. Okay, what about let me take this to non-homers.
Yeah.
Because there are a couple. Actually, I guess I really only have one that was like, oh yeah, that was sick, and maybe we have the same one. But you said you had a couple over there, so I'll let you cook.
Yeah, I think I know where you're headed, so I'm gonna go a different direction. Michael King against the Braves, wild card
Okay.
game one. The first day of the postseason puts together the best start I think we've seen any pitcher have this postseason. I mean, he was just absolutely shutting them down left and right. It was reminiscent to me. I remember a start, and I'm not comparing these two pitchers, but
Kevin Brown.
um, Lincecum made his postseason debut against
Mm,
the Braves in that DS in 10, I think. And he just, I mean, at no point did it even feel like they were going to come close to getting anything going against him. And Michael King, I mean, just the way the ball was moving, I think just like the whole narrative with it being about, oh, we got this guy in the Soto trade and everything was also a lot of fun. But I mean, 12 strikeouts. I mean, he threw 7 innings, 7 scoreless in the
right.
postseason. I mean, that, you don't you don't see that very often anymore. And yeah, I mean, he deserved those 7 innings all the way. He was absolutely brilliant. So I'm gonna, a lot of these are gonna be, oh, the great reliever had a meltdown and that was exciting. But let's appreciate good starting pitching in the postseason while we have it, because it's not always easy to come by.
I'm glad you brought that one up, Bailey, because I was trying to think of like the great starting pitcher starts of this postseason off the top of my head. And like the most recent one was Jack Flaherty versus the Mets, where he went 7 inning shutout in was that game 1 or game 2? 7 innings, 2 hits, 6 Ks. And I was like, I don't know, that game was kind of out of hand, and you know, Jack was dominant, but not dominant in that Michael King way that you're depicting. That was sick, man. And they were cutting to his parents in the stands, and he was like, it hit that point of the game that like a pop out was almost disappointing. It was like
Yes.
this guy is so dialed right now with such beautiful pitches too. Like the X
Yes.
axis he pitches on is unbelievable. That yeah, I'm glad you yes, Bailey. We love Mike
That's
King
what you
here.
pay me the big bucks for.
We love Mike, big buck. That's what we love Mike King here for. The one that was like yep, that I think you were thinking of. The Profar robbery of Mookie
Oh.
Betts. That's one that I think is going to age well. Because he kind of goofed on everyone, which for a postseason home run, L.A. San Diego, that's crazy. And maybe I don't know if it goes down as a better moment, but Mookie then hitting the home run and then worried that he got duped again. Like that's one of those. I always use this, and I've never done it, but because I don't have a grandkid, but for whatever reason, a grandchild is caught in the YouTube algorithm in 40 years, and they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna watch this Padres Dodgers wild card game. It's got good action in it," and they'll be like, "Wait, Mookie Betts almost walked off the field when he hit a home run because the guy like." To have that happen in the first ups of the next game, that was baseball art.
Yeah. Do you know what I reflect upon from that moment is when Profar did the initial robbery out there in the left and the game was in LA, Dodgers fans in that area,
Yeah.
Gotta do better.
Yeah.
Gotta do better than that. I mean, situational awareness, you know. And I'll say even when it was in San Diego and Mookie hits the homer, you know, Padres fans were
Right.
as they should be, you know,
Right.
as they should be. So they had a little more situational awareness there. Obviously, you know, they kind of go back and forth, and Dodgers have the last laugh when they win the World Series. But I will remember that and of course the fan interactions were part of the story there for sure.
I'd like to see. Okay, that was a little dramatic. Hey, front rows of MLB games. You know, if your team is hitting kind of the basketball law of verticality, like
Yeah.
you know, you should be at that front row, and then you are the line of defense because that could have changed the whole series. God, it was funny because I started writing down homers, and I did have big Christmases as one of the early ones. I mean, Soto's, like, that essentially sends the Yankees to the World Series and was a great at-bat. Greg Amsinger said maybe the best at-bat he's ever seen. So, okay. Lane Thomas grand slam off Scooble. Like, that's iconic for some different reasons. You're totally right about the night-day. I think I've internally fought that a little bit, but I think literally like Rockets Red Glare, like national anthem stuff. If you're shooting those off during 2 p.m., it's just kind of like that's noise. But when it's hit at night, you're like, everyone literally go home. Like people after the Lane Thomas Grand Slam were like, dinner with Aunt Becky after this. She loves Lane Thomas. I shouldn't have brought her into this. That whole thing felt dirty. Froze him up.
Do you actually have an Aunt Becky, or is that? Or
I do not.
Were you just pulling that out? Okay.
I'm glad I don't. I don't. I was gonna. David Fry has the pinch hit versus the Tigers and the walk off. Like the Cleveland home runs. The amount of Cleveland signature home runs this postseason. Lindor grand slam off of Hoffman.
Big.
That was a good one.
Was it Hoffman? I thought it was Estevez. I might have that wrong.
No, you might be right.
But that one's fun. Because here's a guy who's hit a playoff grand slam in his time. And it also come off hitting the big home run against the Braves to get them in the postseason in the first place. So yes, that one it ranks probably higher for me than a lot of other people. And that was a moment of the inevitability that I was talking about, where you just felt like if the Mets are going to break this thing open, it's going to be Lindor, it's going to be right here, and that's exactly what happened.
And no, it's funny. I'm trying to dig through. Like, you know, we've had a lot of Yankee fans that have been like, why aren't they going to Stroman? And it's like, well, he's their insurance policy. If one of these guard dogs games goes to the 11th, get ready because they're going to need him till the 17th. We kind of haven't had any moments like that, or like we also haven't seen the, you know, I normally reference it as the Patrick Corbin. Like, you're going to be starting game 3, but we're going to need you for 2 innings here. Like, I don't know. We kind of haven't. Have we seen like the nasty starter come out of the pen even? Am I blanking?
Can I tell you what we've seen in lieu of that?
What's that?
Which I kind of have as a moment, even though it's just more of a trend. The high leverage reliever really early. And I've loved it. Here's some guys who have pitched who have been brought into a game in the 5th inning or earlier this postseason.
Okay.
Kate Smith, 2nd and 3rd inning, by the way. Edwin Diaz came in the 4th inning. Tyler Holton came in the 5th inning. Clay Holmes came in the 5th inning. Evan Phillips came in the 5th inning. I think it's great. I actually really enjoy it. I've seen a lot more aggression with that this postseason than in past postseasons. Just anecdotally, I haven't crunched the numbers on it. And it's something that, you know, I'm going to be taking to my OTP save because I think I've had moments, you know, managing in the postseason where I would have been a little too hesitant to turn to that, you know, big stopper, you know, because I'm still trying to build the bridge to that. But yeah, I mean, a lot of the times the game is decided in those middle innings, that transition from, you know, whoever your starter is to your high leverage guys. It's in between when it's decided. So that's a trend I've liked a lot. And it's true, we haven't seen the starter come out of the bullpen necessarily, but what we've seen is that, which is guys who, you know, get saves, in the regular season coming out, second, third, fourth, fifth inning.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I struggle with the high leverage baseball stuff just because it still breaks my brain a little bit. Like, I wonder, is that product good? Like, they're supposed to be, again, I guess this is content, Jake, kicking in, where I'm like, well, I want to see Edwin. Like, if the Mets came back in that game, I wanted to see Edwin Diaz in the eighth and not, I don't know, Phil Maton.
You wanted to see Reed Garrett.
Yeah, I know. But, hey, Reed found it at the end. But yeah, it still blows my mind a little bit, and I realize, like, I'm the one that has to adjust. Like, it makes sense. Attack that part of the lineup, attack that part of the game, give your team a better chance. But yeah, I guess I'm waiting for that starter moment because, for the Dodgers, it was Urias. Like, how quickly has that guy gone into the abyss? Chris Sale, obviously, when the Red Sox were making their run. Did the Astros, during any of their runs, what?
Well, there's a gentleman who came in threw a lot of curveballs to you guys.
Right, Mr. McCullers.
Yeah.
Snapdragon, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that was a big one. I guess I was looking for the Cole or Verlander. Cole warmed up during that Game 7.
Oh, yeah, no, that one there.
Against the Nats, but he did not. Howie Kendrick off the pole. Get ready for that. That's
unbelievable.
Insane.
That's crazy that happened.
That's literally
I felt so
insane.
I felt so bad for Greinke too, because God, he was dealing the whole time.
It was one of the most dominant starts I'd ever seen.
It was like so vintage Greinke, like and then it's just
the amount of weak contact back to him that felt more powerful than a strikeout was disgusting.
Yes, that felt more demoralizing than a strikeout.
Hey, I've got one last question for you, and I think it's a Yankee fear. So circling back a little bit.
Can I shout out one more moment? Because it is,
please.
It's just there on my board staring at me, and I thought you were going to say it. The Andy Ibanez bases clearing double in AL wildcard game 2 to send the Tigers through. That's a great moment that we haven't seen actually that much of this postseason of. Here's a guy who's going to be the hero randomly. Andy Ibanez, like good for him. We've seen a bases clearing double off Hader in a wild card, do or die situation before. So that was kind of fun, like history repeating itself almost. But yeah, that's a great moment. I wouldn't want to overlook it, even if it wasn't a day game.
Right. Yeah, day game effect. And I think true Talkin Jake people will remember, I think an early Bailey question I had was like, who's a potential breakout candidate that's a little off the map? I think you had Andy Ibanez because he had the exit velo numbers, but he just hits the ball right into the ground, I believe.
I've definitely had the thought in my head over the years. I just don't know if I was ever brave enough to say it out loud.
I think you were. So I think I got it out of you.
If we can pull up the audio of it, maybe, okay. But I certainly, we have these takes that we think in our head, and then when they come true, we're like, yes, I know ball. Yes. But then we realize, oh no, I never actually said that publicly, even though I thought it the whole time.
Oh, dude, I had a crazy one of those the other day. Oh, it was football. This is so dumb. Rashad Bateman, the wide receiver on the Ravens, who's now put together a couple good weeks. I just loved him out of college, and he was kind of buns, and I don't know. I just had one of those weird moments where I was like, did I tell my buddies I liked him? And then I was like,
yeah, I know.
Nobody cares, Jake. Literally.
Was anyone keeping track of what I said about him in 2021?
Does anyone remember my Rashad Bateman draft receipts?
Right.
Maybe one day, Bailey. My one question I want to ask you, that this is a final Yankee fear that I'm kind of laughing because we haven't done, like, tomorrow we're doing our Talkin Baseball preview. We're doing our Talkin Yanks preview. So like there's a lot of stuff I haven't fully sank my teeth in. I guess the narrative of the Yankees have gone through the Royals and the Guardians. Insert your AL Central joke here. The Dodgers went through the Padres, who I think were 1A, 1B with the Dodgers, and that series kind of showed it. And then the Mets, who, again, they had everything you're looking for and felt like they were hot at the right time with a mix of young talent, veteran talent, etc. Is there any chance that it's like, hey, the Dodgers, they had to take down some serious playoff tough teams where, like, my Guardians, and this is rude New York stuff, but like, we're talking about pinch hitting, Schneeman, Will Brennan, Noel. Like it's just a little different. It's a little different.
Yeah.
Is there any chance that I'm going to be punching air in 10 days saying that?
I would hope you aren't, even if the Dodgers
I need to be better
crush
than
the
that.
Yankees. You need to be better than that because you know what? Because if you're in the playoffs, nothing's easy. None of it. It's never ever been easy. And if you want an example of that, just look at the Dodgers for the last decade. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who you played to get there, because if the Dodgers have had easy paths or easy division series matchups and they've gotten crushed. It's happened.
Yeah. I think my true fear is Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah,
I mentioned
that's the thing. It's the plot armor. Like he is the protagonist of baseball, and everyone else is just like basically an NPC.
Dude, I had my get out moment where like I was frozen in my chair. The Dodgers, they win the World Series. They're doing the interviews. They come to Shohei, new translator, and they are like, Shohei. From what I know, Shohei understands English pretty well, and I think he could speak it pretty well, but you use the translator to be safe. I said some of this on Talkin Baseball. When the question was asked, and they were like, Shohei Ohtani, you get to play in the World Series. This is what you've always dreamed of. My head just started going like a mile a minute, like I was Harry Potter and Hermione going through the flu, like just... Shohei Ohtani has dreamed of the World Series every time. Like every batting practice has ended with him 3-2, bottom of the ninth, bases loaded. I'm Shohei Ohtani. Like his World Baseball Classic story of like his coach he's known forever. And he was telling his whole Japan team, like, I've dreamt of this and we're going to do this. And, this is one of my dreams. That was one of his dreams. The dream is World Series. And like you said, the plot armor on this cat, like I feel like I see it all, man. And this guy, I don't know. It's hard to picture him having a tough series.
Yeah. We're going to find out, he wrote a letter to himself when he was 9 years old where he was like, and in game 6, I'll hit a real backbreaker off Jake Cousins.
Like, how did he know? Damn, he already knew. It won't even say Jake. It'll say Kirk Cousins' cousin, and you'll be like, how do you know that? That's what
he'll be like, isn't that
Kirk
weird
Cousins?
that he picked the guys whose last name is Cousin? He picked his cousin.
That's so
That's
disrespectful.
Odd.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm excited to watch it, Bailey. I'm excited to see, for you to enjoy this torturesome Yankee ride with us. That will end with us becoming baseball's most obnoxious fans again, or becoming just dogs with our tails between our legs and just muting the word Dodger on Twitter and all the sad stuff.
You know what, though? Like, it's been 15 years,
I know.
It's been 15 years since the Yanks were in the World Series. That's obviously that's a long time for the Yankees history. I think that's one of the larger gaps. But I mean, people talk about the Yankees being spoiled sometimes, and of course they were spoiled like earlier in the millennium. But I mean, 15 years is a while to go without a World Series appearance. And well, also, I think there's a little bit of like, when people are like, "Oh, those spoiled Cowboys fans," it's like they haven't won a Super Bowl in like 30 years.
Oh, I know.
So it's like, there's some element to me where I would be willing to feel happy for a Yankees fan if they win. I'd also be willing to feel happy for a Dodgers fan if they win as well, just because the 20, they treat the 20 like it's like this is their attempt to win, like when Houston won in 22, where you can be like, okay, this one counts. Yep. And it's not any fault of their own, but it's like this one, no one can take this one away from you.
It's one World Series to become 2. Dave Roberts becomes like a Hall of Famer. Dave Roberts and Boone, like somehow.
Oh, speaking of that, that's another storyline. Those two, insane. I mean, architects of 2003 and 2004 as players. So yeah, well, that's for another day.
With Big Poppy and Jeter on set, fire me up, Bailey. Everyone go subscribe to Foolish Bailey and Foolish Baseball on the YouTube machines. Go check out some of his hilarious comments on X. And we'll be talking to you soon, friend. Maybe some fun off-season content.
Yeah, for sure.
Go Yankees. Tell him Uncle Dan.
Talkin Jake is a production of Dan Patrick Productions, John Boy Media, and Workhouse Media.